Hey you guys, JB here from Alpha Wolf Consulting. All right, coming to you today with the next session in the Alpha Wolf Personal Development and Expansion series. And this session is going to be all about looking deeper into understanding self-validation. Okay, so self-validation practices and sort of really understanding the difference between internal beliefs and external beliefs. So those beliefs that are created within me, by me, and those beliefs that are given to me or imposed upon me by others. And it's very important to understand how to separate the difference within ourselves so that we're able to identify what is truly me and what is of other people. Okay. So, an important thing to start with is we've talked about self-validation a fair bit, and we understand that self-validation at its core is how do I value and validate my opinion within me above others? So, I don't value what an expert says above what I believe to be true. I value what I believe to be true above what any expert may perceive to be true. Why? Because we're all the same. Like, we all have different interests in life. And I'm not saying that experts are wrong, but what I'm saying is if we're living our life based on what other people think and believe as being true, are we living our life or are we living an extension of their life? That's it. Plain and simple. Do I believe my limitations lie where I set them, or do I believe my limitations lie where everyone else sets them for me? If I personally have what I did for many years, I validated everything I did externally to myself. And what happened was I always felt constrained by other people's perceived limitations. For example, people think pain is a negative thing. I think pain is a very positive thing. I enjoy pain. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't mean I go around with a knife stabbing myself. That would be stupid. Do you sort of get it? I think pain is a positive thing when you're enduring pain, when you're going through pain, when pain is external to you. This doesn't mean we put ourselves into pain. I'm not going to get an axe and hit myself in the knee and think, oh, I'm going to go for a run now because I enjoy pain. No. But while I'm going for a run, as my muscles feel like they're tearing, as they feel exhausted, as I feel, you know, that level of exertion, I enjoy that. So we understand it's like many things in life. I do not seek pain, right? I do not take activities with the intention of causing pain, but in all activities I take, I accept pain. Do you sort of get it? It's a slight difference because there are some activities that I personally do that cause pain, and I do them intentionally to cause pain. And what we are doing there is we are conditioning in new pain thresholds. So we just understand when it comes to self-validation, okay, especially in what we're talking about today with our beliefs and validating what we believe as being our limitations, what we believe as being, you know, the the level to which we can exert our will within life. And this isn't to say we are trying to control the external environment. But this is to say, should I say I can walk 100 kilometers, then I am going to walk 100 kilometers to prove it to myself. Do you sort of get it? It doesn't matter what other people say as being true or not true. It doesn't matter. So I get to determine everything within myself, all the limitations. I get to determine the circumstance. I get to determine the environments. Should I not want to walk through a thunderstorm? I don't have to walk through a thunderstorm just because someone else said I had to. Do you sort of get it? Like, I don't have to walk through a blizzard. I don't have to walk through a heat wave just because other people think that that's what you have to do. Do you sort of get it? Just to the same, I don't have to rest my muscles. If I want to walk 100 Ks, I can walk 100 Ks. I can tear my calf muscles to shreds. Do you know what I mean? I can cause myself permanent damage for the rest of my life if I want to. It doesn't matter. Whatever I say or set as being my limitation becomes my limitation. And that's an important thing because why do personal development? Do you sort of get it? Why develop your mind and your mindset? What's the point of it? Like, if everything you're developing is based upon what other people think and feel is real, why do it? Why not just copy them? Imitate. Don't do for yourself, just imitate. Pretend. Do you sort of get it? Like many people do. And the important thing to remember is that the reason we do personal development is to develop ourselves to be able to reach whatever limit we set in life. Like, if I want to be ecstatically happy every day, do you know what I mean? I'm not dictating my happiness based on what other people think and feel is happy. I'm looking to see how happy I can create myself and push that boundary or that limit as far as I can. Do you know what I mean? I'm not creating inner peace within myself so that I can look good to other people. I'm creating inner peace for myself so that I can feel the most or the highest levels of peace within every moment, where I don't feel a need to stress, where I don't feel conflict, where I don't feel chaos within my own life. So we understand self validation is always going to be about the self and not others. Fuck others. Do you sort of get it? Like, in this practice, we can pretend like we're doing it for others, but we're not doing it for others. And if you try and do it for others, you will only ever get as far as those people get. So you better find some people that are getting pretty far ahead. Do you sort of get it? Like, when we validate ourselves through external environments, we self-limit to those external environments because we don't want to expand those external environments. Do you sort of get it? Have you ever noticed that in your own life? I lived so long in my life because of experiences I had in my childhood, trying to never rise above others. For, as the Japanese say, the nail that sticks up gets hit by the hammer. Do you sort of get it? When I condition myself based on the environment I'm in, or I validate myself based on the environment I'm in, every time I rise outside of that environment, I'm beaten back down to that environment. Have you ever noticed that? It's easy to see. You can see it throughout society. You can see it throughout social groupings. You can see it throughout schooling. Do you know what I mean? If Take, for example, schooling. If you outperform everyone else in the grade, do you think they're going to be happy about you making them look bad? If you're better than other people at sports and more physically capable, do you think they like you for that? Like, envy and jealousy is a part of external validation, for they are only as good or as their level of good, okay, is directly correlated to their performance in comparison to those around them in the external environment. So, should I outcompete you, it will always cause fear and jealousy and envy. Do you sort of get it? Like, this is important because we understand that to break our barriers and our limitations, we have to lose the need for others to validate us, because should we choose to go our own path or go beyond the current perception of known, like what happens? We are alone. If we are validating ourselves through our external environment, if there is no one in my external environment, how do I ever validate myself? Do you sort of get it? So it's this idea that should I find those in my external environment aren't at the same level to me, I have to find people who are above me so that I may keep climbing. For I cannot climb the ladder alone. I need to have cheerleaders cheering me on, telling me how to do it. Do you sort of get it? It lowers innovation. It's not to say that your external environment isn't important, but when you validate yourself through your internal environment, the need for the external environment doesn't matter. If I look up and I see that there's still plenty of climb left on the ladder, I just keep climbing. I don't need someone to tell me how to climb and when it's okay to climb and how far I can climb. I push myself to climb as far as I want to climb. And it's a very funny thing because we see this a lot in, for example, bodybuilding and working out. I've noticed in the gym, those who train in groups tend to regulate themselves to the group. Those who train alone set the regulation wherever they want. Do you know what I mean? The most growth we ever get in life is only found within ourselves alone. That's when we find out who we are, what we can do. When I don't have any perception of how difficult the terrain is before me, all I need to do is walk. There is no comparison when I have people around me. Should those around me be telling me how difficult it is and how challenging and exerting it is? Well, I'm going to slow down to make them happy. Should I be out there alone? There is only me who determines what is and what is not difficult. Do you sort of get it? It's very important because when we understand this, we understand the core fundamental of self-validation is, should I want to choose how I want to think, feel, and believe within my own life, I don't set my expectation of what it should be based on other people. I create the expectation of what it should be based on my experience and what I want in life. So an important thing to understand is when we're thinking about this, what we have to do is a lot of, so to speak, our personal development or our development as a person happens between the ages of anywhere from 8 until about 18, 25, around that stage where we're moving from childhood to adolescence to early adulthood. This is when we develop our identity of self and who we are and sort of what we can do in life. Have you ever noticed, just on a side note, but have you ever noticed there are things that you don't think are possible in life, and then sometimes you just have a go and you try and you find out that it's nowhere near as difficult as you thought it would be. It's not as hard as you thought it would be. It's actually easier, like you understand it. So it's this understanding of that sort of liberation of self to where if I perceive the terrain as being difficult and I walk it, should I get to the other end of the terrain or the difficult aspect of the terrain and I look back, I have reset my understanding of what is difficult. Or should I still be standing? Evidently, it wasn't that difficult. Should I be laying in the middle of that terrain dead? Evidently, it was far more difficult than I thought. Do you sort of get it? So we understand that what we are trying to do in the initial stages of self-validation is we are trying to clear out all of that developmental sort of bias that we've created based on our external environment and those around us, our perceived limitations. So what we're trying to do is figure out, what are my thoughts? What are the thoughts of others? What are my beliefs? What are the beliefs of others? Do you know what I mean? Like, should someone walk up and slap me in the face, do I have to respond as I have been attacked, or do I get to choose how I want to respond? Do you know what I mean? Should I be determining it based on other people? Well, if I'm attacked, I have to attack someone back because I don't want to look weak. Do you know what I mean? This, that, and the other. Someone's disrespected me, blah, 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 blah. Like, it doesn't really matter. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to find out, what is the negative conditioning that has been implanted on us by other people. And when we talk about this, all of like the external beliefs from other people are not negative, but predominantly a lot of them will be, because naturally we focus on the negative. The negative is what causes action and reaction within our life. We don't really focus on the positive. Do you know what I mean? We can get 10 positive things happen to us today, but if one negative thing happens, my day's ruined, because all of my focus goes to that, because naturally we are hardwired within our mind to predominantly focus on the negative of what we don't want, because it's fear-based responses, i.e., if I'm out in the wilderness surviving and a predator comes up, I could have had the most amazing day, but if a predator comes up, like, it's very important for me to direct all my focus to that, because in survival, it's important. Do you know what I mean? Should I have eaten the last week and now I don't have food for 3 days? I focus on not having food for 3 days. I'm not really worried too much about I've eaten for 3 weeks. Do you sort of get it? Like, I've got another 3 weeks before starvation kills me. Do you sort of get it? So what's 3 days compared to 3 weeks? Do you sort of get it? It's a pretty wild thing once you get it. But basically, what we are doing is we are trying to override that aspect of our mind, to not focus on the negative, to not focus on what we don't want. Anything that because people give us so much great advice, great wisdom. So we keep all of that. We just understand where it's come from, right? But all of the negative bullshit that other people have put on us and we've put on ourselves, we are working through this practice, getting rid of, because we don't want it. We don't need it. Do you know what I mean? I don't need to walk around every day being afraid that a bear's going to attack me when I live in Australia. Do you sort of get it? Like, it's irrelevant information. It's irrelevant bias or fear or beliefs. Do you know what I mean? But should I be walking around and being highly observant for snakes? Well, in Australia, that is a very, 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 very important thing to do. Wherever you walk, you look for snakes. Why? Because all it takes is one of them and you misstepping and stepping on it for you to be in serious trouble. Do you sort of get it? So it's not to say, that I need to be scared about every step I take that there could be a snake there. No, I'm observant of it. But we're releasing all of the negative aspect of it. So that's an important thing. You're not scared of the snake, but we are observant of the snake. Why? Because the more distance we have between us and a highly venomous snake, the lower the likelihood that they're going to attack us. Because the best part about life is snakes don't have guns. So they're not going to try and hit us from a couple of 100 meters away. It's only if we walk up on them and step on them or step right close to them that they're going to strike out at us. So remaining outside of the strike sort of zone is important. So what this means is that, should I have beliefs from other people that hold relevance, you know, I don't have to focus on them, even if they're negative beliefs, you know, things like, for example, an easy one is identifying patterns of judgment. So ways in which we judge other people's behavior, their sort of how they stand, their posturing, their body language, their facial expressions, their tone of their voice, their emotional states, how they dress, things like that. Like these are very useful tools in being able to identify and categorize people into specific like threat analysis boxes, i.e., if I see someone and they are twitching like they've done ice in the last 5 days or have been addicted to ice, I am going to be a lot more observant about their behavior and keep more distance than someone who is not. So, like, we understand that these beliefs and these judgments that we have from society, like, they do hold useful things, but should I be judging a person based on that? Outside of the relevance. So I'm judging that person as being less than because they've had an addiction to a drug and all of this. That's not the right approach. But we're just observant in our environment that should I not want to be attacked by an ice addict? Do you know what I mean? I'm gonna keep distance like I would with a poisonous snake. Should I be walking at night and I see a group of three young men shouting and they're blackout drunk and they're acting antisocial and they're 300 meters in front of me, well, I'm going to make sure I create distance and keep a distance so that they don't get any ideas about attacking me. Do you sort of get it? Like we keep the distance because the distance creates the safety. So all we got to understand is that we are losing when we are working through understanding what my beliefs are and what external beliefs are, is that we're not trying to say everyone else is a piece of shit and we should never listen to other people. What we are saying is that I determine, even if someone else has told me something, I assess that information and I determine why it is valuable to me. I don't allow other people to tell me why it is valuable to me. I determine why it is valuable to me, and then I integrate that into my own personal beliefs. I don't just take other people's beliefs or truths about life because they've said it's a truth about life. I interpret it and then I understand it for myself, and then I create an application for myself. So do we sort of see the process of working through other people's beliefs that have been imposed on us? Because, like, for example, many people say that, you you can't just, you need money to survive in life. You don't really need money to survive in life. Like, if you go around and provide value to people, even if you don't transact money with them, they will provide value to you, like reciprocity. Do you know what I mean? Like if you go out there and do things and help people, they will help you out. So, like this belief that you have to have money, so to speak, it's not to say that that's the wrong belief, but it's to say that we are able to create our own beliefs out of it. Do you sort of get it? So it's not to say that like money doesn't make life easier or that having money doesn't create security or stability within our own life, but it's to say that money is not the only route to creating security and stability within our life. That is the illusion that others promote, is that everything has to be commerce based through money and that bartering is not of value anymore. When in truth, if you go into life, bartering will never not be a part of society. Because if you have skills that I need, well, if I need, for example, let's say I have a farm and I need help to manage and maintain it. If you have the skills to help me manage and maintain it, that is far more valuable than any money you could provide me, because I'm going to have to use money to get those things. So a bartering system works out much better. So we see it in employment, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? Like some companies and businesses do, they create the value of working for that company in the wage. And they think by paying a higher wage, they create more value for the employee. Some companies think it's in culture. Some companies think it's in work-life balance. Some companies think it's in the value structure of the company and things like that, the support, all of this. So there's many different alterations where we're using things other than money to create value within each other. Okay. So we understand that all beliefs are not set in stone, and we are able to alter them however we want to alter them. Do you sort of get it? So if we want to live life thinking that, money is what everything in life runs on, do you know what I mean? Like we are free to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's when we say to other people that they have to believe what we believe for it to be true that it becomes an illusion. Do you sort of get it? If I choose to consciously believe and choose to embody that belief within me, I'm free to do so. It's not an illusion. It's a way I've decided. But should someone say to me, this is how it is, and I have to believe it because that's just how it is, and for me not to believe it, I'm an idiot, that's an illusion. Do you sort of get it? So we're working through and identifying what are the illusions other people put on us and what are the truths that live within us. Do you know what I mean? For example, I've always believed skills and knowledge hold far more value than any amount of money. Money's great, but having skills and knowledge is far more valuable because there are many environments and circumstances in life where money doesn't really work. I.e., if you're walking down the street at 3 in the morning and someone jumps out and tries to attack you, knowing how to defend yourself is far more valuable than having $1,000. Do you know what I mean? Like skills have more value than money in certain circumstances. In certain circumstances, money will always have more value. So should I want to be buying a car? Well, I'm not going to try and barter with someone and trade them 1,000 hours of my time for a car. That wouldn't really make sense. But trading them, say, $10,000 for a car, well, that's going to make more sense. Do you know what I mean? Because what is 1,000 hours worth to me? Do you know what I mean? So it's important to understand this, that we're not trying to go out there and say that everyone else is wrong, but it's just within myself, I get to determine to me what is right and what is wrong, what is true and what is false. And it doesn't matter about the external environment. So when we're going through and we're rooting through all of these different beliefs, thoughts, emotions, reactions, responses, behaviors, like for example, if someone says that eating junk food is bad, like why is it bad? Do you know what I mean? So for me personally, a lot of people say eating sugar is bad, but eating sugar isn't bad. They say eating sugar makes you fat. Eating sugar doesn't make you fat. Do you know what I mean? Would you like to know how I know that? Because if you look at the metabolic rate of sugar and how quickly it burns off far faster than animal fat. It burns off far faster than carbohydrates, which means that should I exert myself after eating sugar, my body will metabolize that sugar at a far higher rate than any other substance or food that I eat. Do you know what I mean? So there's a whole legions of dietitians and all this bullshit that say eating fruit makes you fat. How can that ever be possible? Yet eating high fat meat does not make you fat. Fat doesn't equal fat, but fruit equals fat. Like, do you know what I mean? If these guys were mathematicians, they'd be trying to tell us 9 times 6 is fucking 2. Do you sort of get it? It's illogical. So it doesn't matter if I'm right or if I'm wrong. Do you know what I mean? If I want to go on a keto diet and believe that fat is the most effective way to burn fat, I can believe that. If I want to believe that a plant-based diet is the most effective way to burn fat, i.e., if I do not introduce fat into my diet, how can I ever put on fat? Do you sort of get it? Like I have a personal belief and a personal understanding that the coefficient, so the effectiveness for my body to turn fat into fat is 100%. My effectiveness for my body to turn carbohydrates into fat or sugars into fat is probably between 60 to 80%. Do you sort of get it? Like the math just makes more sense. And a funny thing is ever since I removed fat from my diet, I haven't had to worry about dieting. Do you sort of get it? Like it's a very funny thing. Before that, all I ever had to worry about was what I ate because I put on fat so easily. Do you know what I mean? Does it matter if it's true or if it's not? Does it matter if other people want to believe what they want to believe? Not really. It doesn't really affect me. So whatever I choose to believe and is true to me doesn't affect other people. What other people believe to be true and effective for them doesn't affect me. Do you know what I mean? I don't affect other people, they don't affect me. For me to believe that what I do is more righteous or better than other people, like, and try and impose on them my beliefs, like, that's completely different. We're not, that has nothing to do with self-validation. So we understand self-validation only exists within the self. So we are never trying to promote or push our ideas on other people. Okay. There is what works for me and what I enjoy and what I like in life and what I choose to believe as being true and factual. And there's what other people believe. And the two shall never meet because the two like will never be in the same place at the same time. What that means is my truth within me, okay, I'm not going to put it on someone else and say, you have to believe my truth is being truth. Just to the same. Because my truth within me is so strong, no other's belief can ever like penetrate that. Do you sort of get it? So like my beliefs of being kind, like you can tell me how being unkind to people is acceptable and a good thing and all of that, but it's never going to get through because my belief in being kind is so strong to me. Doesn't mean I have to be kind in every situation. It means should I choose to be kind, I be kind. Should I choose not to be kind, I can be non-kind. Do you know what I mean? But it's not based on external environments or external beliefs that I should be kind in these situations and not kind in these situations. So it's like this idea, if we just take a tangent for a second, but it's this idea of when you in combat, when you have basically the upper hand, when you have defeated your enemy, show them mercy. You sort of get it? Like if you want to believe that showing mercy to someone who is laying on their back beaten is a good thing, it's a good thing. If you don't want to show mercy, like, you don't have to show mercy. Do you know what I mean? Like, neither of them are right, neither of them are wrong, because you could show that person mercy and then get stabbed in the back and killed. Do you know what I mean? You could not show that person mercy and be a cruel and tyrannical person, a merciless person. So it's sort of like we all have to make decisions based on what feels right to us and what we are willing to be accountable for and accept within our own life. So that's an important thing about self-validation, is it is 100% ownership. I am 100% in ownership and accountability to myself for myself. That is why my opinion holds more value to me than other people's opinion of me, because they're not accountable to me. They're not responsible for me. Only I am accountable and responsible for myself. So all of my actions, either I account for them. I don't get to say, but he said it was okay to, you know, to not show mercy. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, for example, I pick on religion all the time, but like the Crusaders back in the Middle Ages did not live by the Bible. They say they lived by the Bible, but they did not show mercy, for they killed innocents. Do you sort of get it? Like, I can say that he said it was okay, but if I believed that the Bible was my truth in this life, and then I kill innocents, who am I? I am the devil. I am not a good person. So it's an important thing to understand that, like, we are all accountable to ourselves. We don't get to say, when it comes to our health, oh, but this dietitian said this is the best diet. Like, they're not accountable to you. Like, if you put on 100 kilos and your health goes down the drain, they're not accountable. They're not going to the hospital. They're not laying in bed. They're not sick. They're not dealing with the diseases and the illnesses. So, regardless of what other people say, like, the buck stops with you, no one else. You don't get to point fingers at other people and say, but they said it was okay. Do you sort of get it? It's one of the big reasons I never went to the military, is because I don't believe killing another person for anyone else's, like, validation. So, like, I will never kill another person for any other's reason but my own. For me to kill another person is for me to take the decision that I am deciding to kill them. Do you sort of get it? Like, I'm not going to justify and say I was a soldier in war and that's why I killed this women and children, because I was just following orders. If I did that, I'd put the gun under my and just pull the fucking trigger, because I'm not going to do that. I would rather kill myself than fucking live without my value, without my honor. Do you sort of get it? That's why I didn't go there. I'm not saying that anyone who went to the military or any soldiers did anything unethical or bad people. It's just, I realized if I was to kill for a government or a politician's belief of what is right and wrong, I lose the value that I create within myself, my idea of honor, my understanding of what is right and wrong. Do you sort of get it? So, like, when we understand that the accountability is never able to be, like, passed on to another, like, for example, our honor in life only exists within us. Like, only we have the right to determine what honor means to us. No one else. No one else can say, this is honorable acts, these are non-honorable acts. Do you know what I mean? Because all those people who said that, are the ones that took the non-honorable acts and then tried to justify it as being honorable. Those who seek peace in life are usually the ones who justify why it's okay to kill in war. Do you know what I mean? It's a funny thing. You see it in politics, you see it in religion, you see it in all aspects of life, i.e., take the vegans. They say that they don't eat meat because they don't condone killing. Yet a lot of the organic farmers and the farmers that create the food that they eat mass kill animals, insects, ecosystems. Like, do you sort of get it? Those who say that they don't condone violence are usually the ones that condone or perpetrate it. So we just realize it's not about being right or wrong in life. It's living right by us in life. And that's the important thing. So when we're identifying what are my truths in life, what are my thoughts in life, it's going through a filter of what am I going to accept 100% acceptability and responsibility for, i.e., I have very, very strict beliefs around the use of violence. Do you sort of get it? So, like, for me to believe that it's okay to just walk up and attack someone else, even if someone else said it was okay to do, like, it has to go through that filter of, am I willing to be accountable and responsible for this action? If I am, then I can take it. If I am unwilling to, then I can't take it. And the reason for this is because we have to live with our actions. Should we take negative actions towards other people? Like, we have to live with that. So it's very important that we understand this process of sort of sifting through every belief that we hold, every truth that we hold, every thought that we hold, every behavior or action that we take. Is that, am I willing to take 100% accountability and responsibility for the rest of my life for this action, for this belief, for this truth, for these thoughts? Because regardless of what anyone says, that's what happens. Do you sort of get it? Like, if we take negative action towards other people, even in, take, for example, war, and we kill and we murder, like, we are going to torture ourselves for the rest of our life. That's the thing. All actions we take, we must be able to live with. Do you know what I mean? Just to the same with our health and diet. Do you know what I mean? Just because other people say that these are the right diets, that these are the right exercises, that this is how you live a healthy life, like, we have to live with ourselves for the rest of our lives. So just because they say it's the best way, the healthiest way, whatever it is, like we take accountability and responsibility that, like I have to live in this body. I eat. You see it in America right now, where there's these fat loss pills that everyone is taking because they're trying to lose weight without doing the work, without fixing their diet, without, exercising and all of this. So they're taking a pill because doctors say that it's healthy. The pill suppresses your appetite. So there's three things our body craves: carbohydrates, fat, protein. So these two things are our primary energy sources. If we don't have carbohydrates, our body eats the fat. Once we lose the fat, our body eats the muscles. Do you sort of get it? Like, these people, just because a doctor says this is the most easy way or the best way for you to lose weight, like, if you don't eat protein, if you don't eat fat, if you don't eat carbohydrates, like, whatever it is, like, your body will eat the muscles. And after it's finished eating your muscles, it will eat your organs. Do you sort of get it? And then you'll die of organ failure. So there's going to be, because of these diet pills, a very lot of conditions that are going to come out in the following years because people aren't taking responsibility for their diet and their health. They think a magic pill is going to fix it. And the truth is, over the short term, it'll look like you get the results, just like lying and cheating to get success. It'll look like you get the results in the short term, but the truth will always come out. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like another way to think about it is like people that do sort of the wrong thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, for example, take for example criminals. Like, there are many criminals throughout history, throughout life, currently, that have lived lives where they were not who they wanted to be in life, so to speak. They took actions that they did not like. And at some point in time, reckoning came for them and they had to find a way to make peace with themselves. So you see this a lot with ex-criminals where they've gone through something traumatic to where they've realized, so to speak, that like they have to make the change in their life and change their life. And a lot of people, when they do that, like they don't go back to crime. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're sort of, so to speak, reborn. And a lot of it happens around religion and things like that. Like, you know, these criminals were non-religious and they took all these crimes and then they sort of, in one way or another, found God, found religion, and then basically had to work on recompensing and changing and altering their behavior and their choices and decisions in life. And then you see that it's sort of like they're never going to go back to that old way because they know that it's not the right way for them. Do you sort of get it? Like at a certain point in time, we all have a reckoning. So be it through health, be it through our ethics and behaviors, be it through our actions, be it through our thoughts and beliefs. For example, I lived my life for the majority of my life validating myself by what everyone else thought. So I tried to live a life that other people would be jealous of. I tried to, have everything that everyone else wanted. And I had my own reckoning where I had to come to terms with it was making me miserable, depressed. Do you sort of get it? Like I was having to do things that I didn't want to do in life, be a person I didn't want to be in life. And it got to a point where I just couldn't accept that person anymore. So I had to change. Because if I didn't have to change, it was becoming easier and easier for me to think about driving into oncoming traffic at 100 k's an hour. It became harder and harder to stop myself doing that. Do you sort of get it? Like when we live a life that we do not want in this life, it becomes very difficult to not kill yourself. So trust me, like when we say these things, like fuck what other people think is being right and wrong in life. If you don't want to be driving down a highway at 100 k's an hour and fighting the urge to veer into oncoming traffic head on so that you kill yourself, live the life you want to live. Do what you want to do in life. Because I promise you, you can only fight those urges for so long before they take over. Do you know what I mean? When every tree is starting to look more and more appealing than the illusion of a life you've created while you're driving at 120 down the highway. It becomes very, very hard to stay on that road. Do you know what I mean? Because nothing means anything anymore. So through understanding, self-validation, we are able to reclaim our life to become who we want to be in this life. And it all starts with understanding, what am I willing to take 100% accountability and responsibility for in life, in my thoughts, feelings, behaviors, actions, beliefs. Do you know what I mean? And then we just live that way. That is the sense of liberation, when I am only accountable to myself, when I am only responsible for myself. And it's not to say that that means that I don't take accountability and responsibility for other people, i.e., for family and things like that. It just means that in this life, I only have to make peace with me. I don't have to make peace with other people, so to speak. You know what I mean? If I wrong other people, I make peace with them. But I don't make peace with other people for who I want to be in this life. Fuck that. If people demand you to make peace with them because you want to be someone else, someone that they don't want you to be, fuck them. Do you sort of get it? They can go and fucking jump off a cliff for all I care. Who cares? What are you going to do? You sort of get it? Like, it's irrelevant. I'm not going to limit and lower my mental health based on making people feel good about themselves. Fuck that. Do you know what I mean? It's very important to understand, because that's what the trap most people get stuck in life, is this idea that I cannot be who I want to be in life. I cannot be the person I want to be in life unless everyone around me agrees and supports me to do it. Truth is, at some point, either you make the change or life will make the change for you. You sort of get it? Like, if we live inauthentically to ourselves, creating lives and illusions and these identities of self that are based out of everything that is not us, at a certain point in time, that cliff and jumping off that cliff looks like the truest path for us to take. You sort of get it? I used to live every day feeling like I was on a ledge. And there's only a certain point of time that I can stand on a ledge before I say fuck it and jump. You sort of get it? It's why this is so powerful. Because once you understand this, you realize the window's open. I don't have to stand on a ledge just because society makes me think I have to stand on the ledge. Fuck society and their bullshit beliefs about standing on the ledge. Do you sort of get it? It's an important thing to get, because at the other end of this is the liberation of just living and existing your life, being your best self. The best person you can be for others is the best version of you. Trying to be who everyone else wants you to be will only lead to you failing, because we can only ever pretend for so long before we either trip off that ledge or we lose a reason not to jump. Do you know what I mean? Very important to understand this, because jumping off that ledge, unless you know how to fly, is a one-way ticket. You sort of get it? Veering into oncoming traffic or a tree at 120k an hour is a one-way ticket. Potentially you may survive, but I highly doubt it. Do you know what I mean? So unless you're excited to punch that ticket, realize the window's open. Walk away. Do you sort of get it? It's not that important creating an identity based in who everyone else wants you to think, wants you to be. Their opinion of you doesn't really mean much. Do you sort of get it? Like, who cares if they're upset with you? Who cares if they don't like you? Who cares if they're unhappy about your decisions in life. Who cares? Do you know what I mean? Because caring about what they think and feel is never going to make you feel good in life. Do you sort of get it? It's a funny thing once you get it, because once you get it, then it unlocks life. To when I determine what kindness means to me and what being a kind person means to me, I'm free to be a kind person. When I figure out what happiness means to me, and I choose to believe that that is freely accessible to me, I'm free to have it at any time. Same with success, same with love, same with everything. That's the thing. I don't need external validation to do it. I don't need to find Jesus to become spiritual. Do you sort of get it? I don't need religion to find God. God's within all of us. Fuck the bullshit religion spews, because they're all fucking hypocrites. Or at least that's what I've seen. Rarely have I ever seen religious people who fucking live their life by that book, whichever book it is, because they're all the exact same. They're just slightly differently worded. That's the funny thing. They all say the exact same thing, just in different languages. That's what's funny. So we realize if I say that, let's take, for example, I'm a Christian, I live my life by the fucking Bible. I'm not a hypocrite. Do you sort of get it? If I believe thou shalt not murder, should I murder? I put that fucking gun under my chin and pull the trigger. I don't act like I'm different. Do you sort of get it? If I'm going to murder someone else, I murder myself. Like, that's the thing. We don't live like all of them as hypocrites, believing that this book is righteous, yet not believing enough to live our life by it. Nowhere in the Bible does it spew hate. Yet a lot of Christians spew hate. Nowhere in the Bible does it justify the Crusades. Yet most of the Christians justify the Crusades. Do you sort of get it? Nowhere in the Quran does it justify Islamic extremism. Yet some Islamists believe extremism is the only way. That's the thing. To the large percentage of the people that live by their religious texts, who believe in religion, that is okay. Like, however you find comfort and peace in life is how you find comfort and peace in life. But don't ever come to me and tell me that your God is different to my God and that your religion is the only way to speak to God, because I don't ever believe that you've actually had a personal conversation with God. Do you sort of get it? Because if you did, he would have told you how full of shit you are. Do you sort of get it? That's the thing. We are all connected to God as we are God. So if you are God reincarnate in this life, do you really think God believes the Bible? You sort of get it? Do you really think God lives his life by the Bible or her life or however you want to see God's life? Like, do you sort of get it? Do you think God's up there reading the Bible and fucking saying, oh, I better not kill. The Bible says I shouldn't kill. God is everything in life. Killing is a part of life. You sort of get it? Doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong. That's the thing. There is no right and wrong in life. There is only what is right and wrong within us. So either we live right by ourselves, or we can pretend that living wrong by ourselves is the right way. However you want to see it. Choice is yours. The freedom is yours. You need no other to tell you what you believe. You already know what you believe. Do you know what I mean? All I say to you is one thing: don't oppress others. That's it. Believe what you believe and don't force other people to believe it, because it's irrelevant if other people believe it or not. Because if you require other people to believe it for your belief to be true, you don't really believe it. Do you sort of get it? That's why those Christians, and I pick on Christians because they're the easiest one, but that's why those Christians who go around spouting out about how they're trying to save other people in life, they're not. They're trying to validate their religious beliefs. Evidently, they don't believe it themselves, because if they believed it themselves, they wouldn't need to, because it's irrelevant. Everyone goes to heaven. Do you sort of get it? Because heaven's on earth, it's not up in the sky. Do you sort of get it? The next state after life is energetic state. Full consciousness is energy. Do you sort of get it? Like, it's a transference or transmuting of one form of matter into another form of matter. Do you sort of get it? We move from a physical form into an energetic form. Do you really think energy cares if it's in heaven or not? Or do you think energy would rather freely flow through life in the universe? Just ask yourself these questions. Come to your own decision. Because I can promise you this: if heaven was a real place, the majority of people who bought their way into it are not good people, because they think religion is the way they buy their way in. Do you sort of get it? That if I go to church every week, that if I say these rosaries, that if I live a good, so to speak, Christian life, I'm going to heaven. I don't have to be a fucking good person. I don't have to do any work on myself. I don't have to be enjoyable to be around. I don't have to be kind to others. All I have to do is look kind to others to buy my way into heaven. I don't have to believe that God is within me. I just have to believe that the Bible is real. That's how I buy my way into heaven. It's a funny thing. It's a funny thing. Who would want to be in that place? Do you sort of get it? Like, do you enjoy being around those people in life? So, like, if the answer is no, then I'd be praying that there isn't a heaven. Because if there is, then you'll go to heaven. They're the people you're going to be around for the rest of your life. Do you sort of get it? For eternity. Eternity of people trying to buy their way in through virtue. They don't take actions because it's in the goodness of their heart. They take actions because it's virtuous to do so. Do you know what I mean? Like the Crusaders were rapists, murderers. Do you know what I mean? So to speak, they fought for God to go to heaven. Would you really want to be around a bunch of rapists and murderers? Do you sort of get it? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, because back in those times, all armies were like that. All soldiers were like that. It's just how it was. But like when they took Jerusalem, slaughtered everyone that inhabited it, the men, the women, the children. Do you sort of get it? Like, I wouldn't want to be around those people. Do you know what I mean? I'd enjoy being around them. I'd enjoy fighting them. Do you know what I mean? But no, I would never want to be associated with them. Do you sort of get it? Like, that's not righteous. No matter how much you want to say it's righteous, it's not righteous. The second you kill an innocent, you cease to be righteous. The second, if you believe in the Bible, that you act outside of the Bible, you cease to be righteous. Do you know what I mean? It's a funny thing. Like, it's all this fake virtue. We want to avoid fake virtue. And the best way to do it is through validating yourself. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this one. And I hope you get this and understand this, that it's very important to understand, like, you are only ever accountable and responsible to yourself, but you owe yourself the highest level of accountability and responsibility in this life. Whatever you believe as being true and righteous in this life, live by it. Don't ever compromise. Because once you compromise, you remember. Do you sort of get it? You will torture yourself. No other needs to even lift a hand against you, for you will beat yourself and torture yourself day in and day out. So it's very important to live right by you, to do right by you. Doesn't mean that we're doing right by us at the expense of others. It means that I do right by me and by others. Do you sort of get it? I do right by others by doing right by me. I do right by me, so I may do right by others. Because if I do not do right by me, how could I ever do right by others? Do you sort of get it? If we all did right by ourselves, there would be no hatred, there would be no violence. Or why would we ever go and do wrong by another when we're doing right by ourselves? All the people that do the bad things in life, do you think they're doing right by themselves, even if they convince themselves they are? The Crusaders weren't doing right by themselves. I don't ever understand or see how killing innocent women and children is doing right by yourself. But maybe you have an argument for why that's righteous. Many have claimed it's because they were infidels. Infidel is an excuse for the spewing of hatred and violence. Look at the current wars that go on. Look at how they position them. Look at Israel and Palestine. Not to say either side is righteous in it, neither side is righteous in it. Both sides acted egregiously. Both sides murdered innocent women and children. That is never acceptable, never okay. Like those who did that should take a gun and fucking blow their brains out because they are not righteous enough to breathe this oxygen. You sort of get it? If everyone had my belief of righteousness, we would never have to worry about acts of terror because those terrorists would kill themselves. Do you sort of get it? Or they'd at least realize that was what was coming, not by another's hand, but by their hand. Honor is one of those things. Many claim to have it, few embody it. Embody it in your own way and figure it out for yourself. There is no one way of having honor, but to have honor for yourself is to build worth within yourself, to build value within yourself. Remember that. All right. I hope you have an amazing day and I'll talk to you on the next one. Thanks so much. Bye.